Bassem Youssef, ladies and gentlemen, Bassem Youssef. Assalamu alaikum, brother, and welcome.
Alaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me. And this is a very cool place. I mean, you have a very cool apartment. I mean, it's like I'm just looking at books and records and posters. That's so cool. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. I thought you would get a kick out of it. I call this the Rhodes Library.
Yeah.
I've been, when I travel, I like to go to used bookstores and used record stores, and as a comedian, I think you got to be smart and intelligent and well informed.
Really? Nobody told me. I think I didn't get the memo for that. What the hell? I'm in the wrong line of business.
That's the most untrue statement that's ever been made in this apartment. And now let me tell you a little bit. I'm so excited to have you in my home because for many years I've been doing the international circuits for 20 years, and for many years I was trying to make a comedy travel show where I would be like the Anthony Bourdain of comedy. So I was really studying worldwide comedy, and then things were happening with you. And your TV show in Egypt, I was reading about it, and I actually thought one day I would love to go to Egypt and make an episode with this guy. The show never happened, and now
my show got canceled.
And now you're in my home.
In Los Angeles. I mean, you didn't have to go through all of that trouble of trying to come to Egypt. I came to you.
It's beautiful, and your story is so incredible. I mean, there's so much to talk about. You were a heart surgeon. Mm-hmm. Do you know that heart attacks are the number one killers of comedians?
Actually, it's the number one killers of everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, then I guess.
Like comedians are people, right? Like corporates are people, but with far less money.
Well, so, I can change that to heart attacks are the number one killer of plumbers or anybody.
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah.
Just,
okay.
That's still going to be statistically correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But you left your career in medicine to start a television show, a political satire show like Jon Stuart.
Yes.
Of The Daily Show, who I'm guessing he was your hero.
Yes.
Is why you started the show.
Well, I was a doctor, heart surgeon for 19 years, 7 years of medical school, and then 12 years I was a practicing doctor. And in my show, I say this is the options that are given to us, because we are offered three options: to be a doctor, an engineer, or a disappointment. So I kind of like went into there with a kind of means of exclusion, because my brother already went to engineering. So now the medical slot is the only one available, and I hated engineering, so I just went there. So it's kind of like, what? I have good grades. What could I do with it? So I'm just gonna use it, you know. It's like having like a big credit score and you just buy an expensive car just because you can, not because you need it, you know. So I went into medical school. I did all of my USMLE, the medical exams and everything, and I was ready to come to the United States because I was already accepted in a fellowship in Cleveland. So, and all of these years, I watched American entertainment. In general, of course. I mean, from the sitcoms, and then and to the movies, to the Muppet Show, to everything. And then Jon Stewart was kind of an advanced stage, because it is not just about the language is one thing, but comedy is a kind of a different language. And even there's like tiers of comedy. So you can start by Friends, slapstick, very easy, very easy to understand, very lovable, and then you kind of get a little bit smarter, and then you start watching Seinfeld because it's a show about nothing, and then Frasier. So that is the stages that you go through in sitcom. So I think I kind of define my English proficiency, not just in language, but in understanding the culture through understanding these shows. And then came Jon Stewart. And I remember the first day I saw Jon Stewart, I was in a gym, and the gym was playing CNN. One of the monitors had CNN. And at that time, Jon Stewart did the global edition. He did like once a week. They would, the CNN would carve like a whole episode from different episodes through the week and broadcast it. And I said, who is that? And I didn't understand anything what he was saying, because I didn't understand what are Democrats, what are Republicans, who the hell is Fox News, why are everybody's angry at them. And through him, I started to understand American politics. So he was my gateway to American politics, and he was my gateway to a different kind of comedy that I was not used to. Like a kind of like a journalistic kind of comedy. And I always had this very far-fetched dream that one day we will have a show like this in Egypt, and I will be one of the writers, because I was like, I'm a doctor. What? I have no business being on screen. And then the Arab Spring, the revolution happened in Egypt. And at that time, there was the media, the Egyptian state-run media, was filling people's heads with lies and fake news. And I tell my show, so like, I know that you guys are still getting to know this term, but we had that for 7,000 years. So kind of like ahead of you. So so I was kind of like pissed, and I started to do these like YouTube shows, and I didn't think that this will go anywhere. I said, all right, I'm going to Cleveland, and after a year, maybe somebody will discover these videos on the internet.
But that's one of the things that blows my mind about you, is that you didn't do stand-up before the show. You went from a medical career, you made the YouTube videos, and then the popularity of that led to the show.
And even these were not stand-up. These were like desk pieces, like The Daily Show. It was me, and then there would be a video, and then I will make, comment on the video, and that's it.
So how did you know you were funny if you had never performed in front of a crowd?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't. Listen, I hate watching myself like every single human being. So I was just like putting it there. It's like, maybe I will get 10,000 views. In 7 weeks, I had 5 million. And I know that for so many people, 5 million now is nothing. You get that when your dog farts on TikTok. But at that time...
But you have to dance.
Yes, with the dog farting. But 2011, these numbers were crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And then suddenly I'm having offers from every single TV network wanting me to do the show on their station. And I said, that's crazy. No, I'm going to Cleveland. I said, no, we have this show for you. And I had to put Cleveland on hold. And I sent to them, like, I'm staying. And I gave up the fellowship. I was like, I'm going to stay and see if that will work for a year. But my mom was very protective. Of my career. She said, like, no, don't leave medicine. You invested so much time and money in medicine. You don't leave medicine. So do both of them at the same time and see if it works. So for a year and a half, I was on the show, the most popular show in the history of the Arab world, 40 million people
doing
watching
surgeries.
Every episode, and at the same time going to the hospital, doing my shifts, teaching in the hospital because I was an attending doctor, so I had also classes to teach, and it was crazy because the professors, we do the morning rounds with the professors, right? And I'm a junior doctor, I was the attending doctor, so there was like the assistant professor and the professors. And it was very awkward because the patients on the bed would start noticing me. And I'm a nobody next to these doctors, they are the gods, and I'm just like, we're like, yes, doc, yes, sir. Yeah,
You're that dude.
Yeah, and it's like, he's the funny guy from the internet. And then he kind of then he paused and said, is he going to operate on me? Because of course, you can make me laugh. But to crack my chest open, that's a different thing. So it was very embarrassing. But then after a year and a half, I said, like, you know what? I think that's it. I think that would be my career. And I resigned from my post in the university. And I started doing this full time.
It seems like if you saw a movie where a guy is a heart surgeon, and then like he takes off his gloves and the scrubs, and then he goes and hosts a television show, you'd go, there's no plausibility in that. That's not possible.
Or he's a very bad doctor. He's a very, very bad surgeon. I think my first thing is like, I don't want him to operate on me.
You always hear about surgeons accidentally like sewing somebody up with a sponge inside or something like that.
That's the nurse's fault. Well, actually, it is both of their faults, because at the end, like, no, seriously,
They're supposed to.
No, seriously, no, because there's a count, there's a sponge count, there's a towel count, so the doctor cannot close up until he asks the nurse how many. So as we when they give them the sponge or the towels or whatever, we count. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when the nurse receives the towels back from him, he has to give her 6. And she keeps the count. So it's a joint
So it is the nurse's
responsibility.
fault. You're laughing, but it really is the nurse's.
I don't want nurses to hate me, but yeah.
So would you ever go back to medicine?
No.
Never.
No. I actually I discovered that I never liked medicine in my life. I mean, I did all the good grades. I was always an A student. I did all of the GSMLZ, and I even did like the British exams, and I was qualified to be in the Royal College of Surgeons in England. I did everything. But I just did it because I had to. I hated it. Even in my medical days, and when I was a medical doctor, it seems that I was trying to find anything as an escape. So, and this is a lot. And this is not a lot of people know this, but as I was being a doctor, I used to teach salsa.
Salsa.
Yeah. Teach salsa and Argentinian tango. I love dancing. And I had the biggest classes in Egypt.
I don't know if you know this.
50 people wanted to come to our class.
My mother's from Buenos Aires. I'm half Argentinian.
Yeah, so I still do Argentinian tango. I still dance socially till today.
Oh my God!
So I created a big salsa community in Egypt and a big tango community in Egypt, and I was been frowned upon by my fellow medical doctors because like, oh no, a real doctor doesn't dance.
Are you doing it in LA?
I still dance sometimes.
Okay,
but tango more than salsa.
You just became my favorite person on the planet.
Yeah, so, dancing is beautiful. So yeah,
especially the tango. I think because I took lessons in Buenos Aires, and
you remember your teacher?
Nah, you know it's funny because like I was there in summer when I first did it, and my mother translated for me so I could do it. And it was really hot, and I put on regular shoes for dancing, and I said you can't tango in flip flops. And then we go to the studio, and the instructor was wearing flip flops, and he was amazing. This guy moved around.
I mean, these people can be on skates. They don't care. I mean, some of the masters are amazing.
Well, the interesting thing about the tango is the man is basically driving the car. The woman does all the fancy footwork, so that like if I want to take my partner to my right, I push in my hand, I signal her.
There's no pushing the hands.
Or like you lightly, and then like you push in the back if I want to take her to the left.
You had a bad teacher.
Or I had a bad teacher.
It's all energy. It's all from your core.
So like birds who don't communicate.
It's all from your core. It's all from your center, and it's all about how grounded you are in the floor and how you can transfer this energy from the floor, from your body to your body with absolutely no, because any movement with the hand actually hurts her back, hurts her neck. So it's all about like making her comfortable, and it's not really about you driving the car. It's a lead follow lead dynamic. You lead, she follows. You give her a signal, she gives you back, and you give. It's a very dynamic exchange all the time.
How do you signal your partner if you don't do the?
No. It's always with the direction of your center.
Okay.
And it's also like how, and it's not just that. It's like how you have to be connected to the floor. That's a different topic for a different podcast.
Hey, I'm very excited. So the documentary on you, Tickling Giants, is great. I recommend that anybody to watch that because it's just so unbelievable, everything that you went through. So for people who aren't really familiar, just to breeze through this really quick, Hosni Mubarak was the dictator for what, 40 years?
Hosni Mubarak was the president for 30 years in Egypt. Yeah. And 30 years, we consider that as a very short first term in the Middle East. So it just, I think he just went out very, 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 very early. He didn't have enough time. So so he was there, and then the revolution happened. He was ousted, and then there was the military came in for 1 year as an interim year. Then the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamists, went in for another year, and then the military came in again and kind of like removed them in a military coup. And when Mubarak was removed, I did the show, and I was.
It seemed like I remember it was a really exciting time. It seemed like. With the Arab Spring, what was was the fruit seller's name? Mohammed Bouazizi?
Mohammed Bouazizi.
Bouazizi, that's it.
Yeah.
I've always remembered that name.
Yeah, he's a guy who kind of like set himself on fire in Tunisia, and that kind of like sparked the whole thing in Tunisia first. But then when it came, so Tunisia started it.
Yeah.
But then when it came to Egypt is the biggest Arab country. We have like 100 million people. So that basically led to the snowball effect of the whole Arab world. And I mean, it's very complicated to say why it failed, whatever. But
it was an exciting time.
It was an exciting time, and it kind of like gave that kind of space for creativity, and especially for comedy. And when I did the show, this was something that nobody have seen before. I tell the story that I wanted Jon Stuart to notice me, and I planned for it, even when I was in Egypt. So when I was still on YouTube, even before I went to the show, the international press started noticing me. You know, when there's a hot spot in the world, international press just go there and try to get like as many stories as possible. Yeah. So they get stories about like struggle and revolution, but also, you know, comedy.
Yeah.
So I remember there's
this new era in Egypt. There's comedy. So that's how I was reading.
So everybody is going there. So I made sure that in every English interview, I would just drop Jon Stewart's name out of nowhere for no reason. You know, it's like, who's your hero? Jon Stuart. What do you eat 3 times a day? Jon Stuart. You know, like I would just like mention him just for no reason. And it worked. My first ever English interview was done by the Daily Beast. And the headline came, the Jon Stuart of the Nile. And that kind of stuck. So now I started doing it, like Jon Stuart of Egypt, Jon Stuart of the Arab world, Jon Stuart of the Middle East. And after I finished my first season, which was a very, very low budget, pre-recorded show in a studio, no audience, nothing, I decided to do a live show like I saw in America with live audience, because we don't have this kind of industry in Egypt. I said, like, I want to do that. I don't want to have like paid people who come in and clap because I don't want to have like, you know, professional clappers. I want to have people coming in from the street into the middle of Cairo in a theater and actually react to the show. So I said, like, I have no idea how to create that show. So I want to go to New York and shadow Jon Stewart's team. So I pulled all kinds of strings I knew. And then one knew, another one knew, a third one knew the girlfriend of an ex-boyfriend of a guy who works in the middle in Jon Stewart's show. And I got my 3 days to shadow them. And by the time I went there, Jon Stewart already heard of me. And he invited me to speak in his office, and we thought like it's going to be 10 minutes. We spoke there for 90 minutes. And then he invited me on his show, and this is how it started. And then I told him, I'm going to make you proud of me. And in 1 year, I'm going to make the biggest show in the Middle East. I'm going to invite you there. And a year after, he came to Egypt, and he was on my show. He was shooting his movie Rosewater in Jordan, and he came from Jordan to Egypt. And it's on YouTube, by the way. You can see that. And when he went into the stage and I announced him, people went crazy. People were just like standing ovation for 3 minutes. Never happened before. And then I remember him telling me, I have never thought that a short Jewish guy from Jersey would have this kind of reception in the middle of Cairo. And it was, I think that was, for me, it was a validation. A guy that I watch all my life. And I told my team, you know what? I don't care if they kill me tomorrow. I don't care. I'm done. That's it.
When I loved at the end of Tickling Giants, where there's a big banquet award ceremony or something, and he introduces you, and he says,
"I'm the Bassem Youssef of America." This is how humble he is.
He says, "I'm the Bassem Youssef of America."
He's amazing.
It was so beautiful.
He's such a beautiful person, so genuine, and I do miss him. And
I used to do one-nighters in New York with him when he was a comedian.
He's lovely.
Lovely guy.
He's a lovely person. And I was also quite fortunate to be on Colbert's show, one of his team, and I was also fortunate to come back to his show with Trevor Noah, brilliant comedian. And I think this show, like my show in Egypt, kind of like if that's all what gave me, I'm very satisfied. The fact that like it was cancelled because of, you know, I mean, under the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamists hated me, the military hated me. I was making fun of, you're an equal opportunity offender. You don't care, right? But then people start to project stuff that is not on you. Like, you know, like you're an activist, you're a revolutionary. I never said I'm an activist or a revolutionary. I'm just a comedian. But it's kind of like the problem with how people watch comedy or see comedy. It's very dangerous sometimes because people have this impression that everything is failing. The politicians are failing, the media are failing them. And the only people who are doing their jobs are the comedians. We're not fixing anything.
Yeah.
We're just doing our job, making fun. You know, we don't have to report the news. We just have to make fun of them. We don't have to make things work. We just have to make fun of it, right? But the thing is, because we do our job well, people look to us as saviors. Or people is like, oh, comedy will save us. No, comedy will not save you. We're fucking jokers. We make fun of stuff. Yes, we do have an opinion that we make it in a funny way. But the problem is people just put their hopes up too much on comedy. At the end of the day, a comedian's role ends at the edge of his stage or the screen. But it's not going to fix stuff for you. You need to fix it for yourself.
Yeah, I used to think that comedy could change the world. Now I think comedy will get your ass beat.
No, comedy will not. You know when you say like prayer don't change things, prayers change people and people change things?
Yeah.
Problem with comedy is that people sit and kind of like see that biting satire and they feel that they did their job. Laughing at the bad leaders, laughing at the bad politics, but then they sit around and they don't change things, whether because they can't or they just they have this fake feeling of achievement, and that's the problem with people watching comedy thinking it's all that, but it's not really. And I think we need to be grounded and tell people it's not up to us to fix things. We're just there commenting on stuff happening all around the world. And it's kind of like, as you said, it kind of got me into trouble. Under the Islamists, there was a warrant for my arrest. I was interrogated.
No, it's nuts in that
film,
and they're showing in front of your TV studio old women, and they're saying this one old woman is saying, execute Bassem Youssef and I will feel better.
Yeah.
And like these really just crazy.
I have that all the time till now. I mean, I have a lot of hate. I think the 40 million people that watching me, I think half of them were hate watching. but it was good for the ratings.
What'd you say?
It was good for the ratings, so I didn't care.
People in America, comedians in America, always talk about like political correctness and being handcuffed. I mean, to go out and make jokes where like your life could be threatened or your family. I think. I mean, I think you push your balls in a wheelbarrow, sir.
I know, but people ask me this. It's like people kind of like when they see the movie or they see what happened to me. It's like, oh my God, you must be brave. How could you say that? I really didn't think about it. I have to tell you that being arrested or killed or harmed was the least of my worries. You know what I worried about? Twitter reaction after each episode. I didn't want people to just like, because anything is redeemable. Let's say you got shot. You're a hero. You're a martyr, right? Right? And if you survived it, more material for you. But if people tell you, oh, you're not funny, that hurts. That's it. That's even worse than a bullet. It's like because basically they're telling you you're not good at your job. That every waking minute that you spent for that job is wasted. But if your life ends with a bullet, it ends. What you gonna do? If you're gonna be arrested, you're a hero. But if people say it's like not that funny. Hurts.
That's a killer.
Yeah.
That's a killer. So let's do a quick little overview here. So Mubarak, who was really a strict leader and a pretty tough strongman. My girlfriend is Muslim, and from saying Ramadan Mubarak, Eid Mubarak, I've learned that in Arabic, Mubarak means happy.
Mubarak means blessed.
So, because he looked like the most unhappy person in the world.
But it's a name. I mean Bassem. You know what Bassem means?
No, what is it?
Smiley person.
Really?
Yeah, that's my name. Smiley guy.
I love it. You know what Tom means? It has no meaning.
So Hosni Mubarak. I don't know. Hosni Mubarak. So Mubarak means blessed, and it's a name. It's a common last name in families there. And he must be happy because he's been the strongest man one of the strongest men in the region and the strongest man in Egypt for 30 years. But it's just this is how dictatorship happens, you know. It's like they just go in and they want to like pass it to their sons and but it's just I think what Mubarak is gone. I mean, he's dead.
But it seemed like that was such a great moment. And in Egypt, it seemed like, there's going to be just this new freedom and life, and then the Muslim Brotherhood and Morsi take over, and then it seemed like he had just as many rules. And
no, and here's the problem. The problem is the biggest problem in the Middle East is the dichotomy between military and religion. And we have, over the 60, 70 years, we have this kind of switch. A military strong man, a religious strong regime. A military strong man, a religious strong regime. And the people who get crushed in the middle are the moderates, the liberals, because we're not that many. We're not supported by religious institutes or military institutes. So these two sides of the conflict, they fight with each other. Sometimes they form allies with each other. Sometimes they kill each other. Sometimes they get again friends with each other. It doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, it's power. It's not really about religion. It's not really about military. It's about power.
Well, and where I was going with so Sisi is now in charge.
Sisi, yeah.
And it's
the military again.
Yeah, and it just seems like one tough guy after another. And
well, that's the story of the Middle East. It's the story of the whole Middle East.
Well, the story of the world. There's this college course I love, and it's called The Wisdom of History, and it says that.
Did you write this book?
Actually, it's a course, and I've watched.
You didn't write because they kind of like you're kind of like it's like, hi, look up to my book.
I've watched it. I've watched it like 8 times. It's this college course, university course. The guy's dead now. Rufus Fears. He's my Justin Bieber. Guy was so cool. But he says in this, and he breaks down all of history that the democracies are fragile.
Very.
That in the history of the world, people prefer a powerful, strong man and authoritarianism over democracy.
Listen, there is some kind of comfort in authoritarian regimes. You don't have to worry about something. We're just gonna take care of you, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to hear this noisy democracy out there, because democracy is noisy. Because at the end of the day, democracy is the fact that you have to hear opinions that are not pleasant, that you don't agree with. That's democracy. For example, you'll have people that don't want people different than them, different in religion, in orientation, in political views, in lifestyle, to be around, to be there. Their presence annoy me. So I need a strong system to just remove them, because I need a very streamlined kind of lifestyle. And what is the most streamlined? As the military. Everybody dresses the same, everybody thinks the same. Same thing with religious regimes. Everybody dresses the same, everybody thinks the same. So there's kind of a comfort to those kind of people, you know. And the problem is, this is kind of because it's expected, it is predictable, and but of course the people who are different, the people who want to be more creative, who want to explore more, these are the victims of these kind of regimes. That's why in those kind of countries, the level of creativity or the level of art suffers. Because in order to be artful, more creative, funny, you need to be free, right? And that's why you don't have a good comedy scene. Not because people are not funny. People are very funny there, but they have all of these limitations that they cannot step over. So everything becomes stagnant. Art becomes stagnant. Creativity becomes stagnant. Comedy becomes stagnant because you have all of these limitations on you by the system. Because and now you're not going to hear anything that is politically incorrect, because it's not allowed. You're not going to hear anything that is offensive, because it's not allowed. So that's why, with all of the the bitching and whining of people, it's like, oh, it's offensive. Yeah, but that is actually part of the whole idea of being free, that you have to listen to everything. You don't have to agree with it, but you just have to stop being a bitch about it.
Well, how much do you worry about American democracy? And did you see any parallels between Sisi and what Trump did for 4 years?
I think Trump is really looking at the Middle East, and he's very envious. because he's like, I wish I can get away with shit like those people, right? Because he even said that, like even in joking, but like when he met like the North Korean dictator, it's like, oh, I should be president forever. And he's like, oh, I was joking, but inside he's the problem with Trump is that he is someone who has never been in a position of public service. So even the Republican politicians that you don't like, those people have been in that field forever, so they know what does it mean to be a public servant. It means that like I'm being elected by those people, and it is fair game since I'm the most powerful person in the world that those people tear me apart. It is part of the job. It is part of the freedom of the press. And this is why, I mean, we can talk forever about what Trump did, but I choose one point of his presidency that for me is a defining moment, is that when he, for 4 years, boycotted the correspondent dinners, the White House correspondent dinner.
Yeah.
He's the first president ever to do that.
Yeah.
No other president did that. No George W. Bush, no Reagan didn't attend one of them because he was shot. And he still phoned in from the hospital because he knows it's important. It is, even if it was a show, even if it was not real, it is a gesture that me, the strongest person in the world, because I was elected by the people, you have the right to tear me apart, to roast me, and I roast you back.
Yeah, to have a sense of humor.
Because at the end
everything.
of the day, I'm a person, I'm here for that limited time. He wanted to be one of those like countries that have no democracy, no accountability, nobody. And even in his press conferences, oh, that is not a very good question. I think your question is nasty. He was annoyed when people kind of like hold him accountable.
Yeah.
So the parallels, and the only thing that saved America is the system. I know that a lot of people say, oh my God, our democracy is so fragile and whatever, but I think there is enough people, and when I say enough people, I'm saying in the millions, that will stand against a real assault on democracy and on the system. And I think that is what actually makes, and the whole thing about all of the differences and all of the noise and all of the people clashing, I think that is actually one of the things that is a kind of a guarantee for American democracy to continue.
Yeah. Now, another thing taken from that college course was that in the Wisdom of History says that religious ideology can't be beaten. You can never beat. So I think because my family are all really very religious, hardcore Republican people, and they see no fault whatsoever, especially on what happened on January 6th. And I worked with you 2 months ago, and I go, oh my God, this is the guy from Egypt that I had dreamed of doing a television thing with once upon a time. And you destroyed me. You were so funny. And the great line you said that white people had stolen terrorism from the Arab world.
I started the joke by saying Republicans saying that there's a whole conspiracy that that Democrats are bringing us into this country to replace white people. And I say this whole thing about why can't we replace white people? I mean, the buzzword scares us, gluten, vegan, triggered. It's I'm offended. We can't be white. It's just too much work. Oh, it's a rescue. It's just too much, But, and then I talk about what happened in January 6th, and said they found people with plots. They had explosives. I said, explosive, that's our signature move. And I said, oh my God, white people are replacing us. So it's kind of they're taking over. So, and it is, and I also make a joke about the whole thing, because that day of the coup was funny, because I was watching it. And you know what really pissed me off about that day?
What?
How pundits were commenting on this, because these were American people. This was an American problem. This was an American crisis in the American capital. And yet, pundits on CNN, it's oh, this seems like a scene from the Middle East. Why the fuck are you bringing us into this? We haven't done anything. I mean, we are in the news even if we have nothing to do with the news. Why are you bringing us into this? Why are you bringing us into your problems? Shithole countries have already moved on. Why are you bringing us into that? And then and then they said, oh, this looks like a coup in the Middle East. Like, really? I mean, first of all, when we have a coup in the Middle East, it works. So you're fucking losers. I mean, you even failed. You failed. That was not I mean, my American friends were like, oh my God, that is so scary. I said, that's funny. That's hilarious. What is there is hilarious. I mean, did you see that? Like a guy with like a horns and like a couple of diabetics wearing Trump shirts and like 18 years old with like a knockoff tactical gear and like a bunch of Karens shouting 1776. That was a freak show. That was no coup. When we have coup, we have fighter jets, we have tanks, we have commandos coming in, fucking everybody. That's how you do a coup.
Yeah, but not a cosplay
yeah,
group.
and then you discover, that, America is really good at taking other governments down. But like when you do it, you're not good at jerking off yourself. It's very. You need a lot to learn from us. I'm sorry.
Well, it's hilarious that a lot of people, right-wing people, think that Antifa people had done that. I'm like, how the most violent, hardcore Trump supporters would be infiltrated and led by radical left-wing people.
Because they know what happened was wrong.
Yeah.
So they will give you any explanation, knowing it's bullshit. But they need to tell themselves that, right? I mean, is it really a surprise to you? I mean, right-wing people in general,
yeah,
will try to find the most ridiculous explanation for the most horrible things so they can feel good about themselves. Because they cannot admit that everything that they have believed in is wrong, right? So, let's say, for example, all through the history, we had people predicting the apocalypse, right? And how many times have been there proven wrong?
Every time.
Have they ever admitted? It's like, oh, it's something else.
No, then they always push the date further back.
And then they push it.
I was wrong. It's 2 years from now.
But something else. I mean, it's like God does not like us because it's all of those gays or those. But it's just or the Jews or the Muslims. It has to be something else. You cannot. The difference between cultish people, and when I say cultish people, I mean people with extremely religious fanatics, extreme military fanatics, because it's the same mentality, is that they cannot see the wrong in their view because they have built all of their lives on that base. And if that base is corrupt, they have nothing else. They have nothing else, right? And it's by the way, it's Muslims, Jews, Christians, militaries, Nazis, extreme whatever. Even sometimes on the left, the extreme left, they're really like, to walk people. They will never admit there is something wrong.
Yeah.
Because how can you live your life if you know that you're wrong? You can't. And that's the difference between being self-critical and understanding that, like, oh, I might be wrong. It's like, no, we cannot be wrong.
So that's what I've thought. That moment will never come when these people step back and go, hey, our fanatics were a little out of line and we're sorry.
No. And the thing is,
and people who are so religious, and that all of these actions are completely against their religious beliefs, is what blows me away.
So
to be violent.
Why? But why? But I mean, look at the history of religion. I mean, the Crusades.
Right. It's all violent, right?
I mean, all religions did it. Islam, Christianity, Judaism. They did it, and they did. There's people who did in the name of God. They committed a horrible atrocities to other people, and there's always an explanation. There's also, we were pushed, we were persecuted, self-defense. We were doing that for God. We were doing that for the nation, for the country. There's always this justification for them to continue, because it's either that or they're gonna be out. That's why you never find people coming back to moderation. They'll be out. It's because it's kind of like it becomes an all or none thing. So either this or that. No. So yeah, that's an interesting line of thought.
I love you.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, man.
That's such a great explanation. You actually make me feel better because I've been very worried.
No, but the thing is, like, I think that we should stop trying to convince those people. They will not be convinced. I mean, you will not win them over by comedy or satire or whatever. They have their own thing, and they don't care about winning you over either. They want you dead. I'm talking to you like very honestly. The whole idea of like kumbaya, let's get along together. No, it's not going to happen.
It never happens.
These people
right?
will continue to hate you. They will continue wishing you the worst, and you are going to continue wishing them to disappear off the face of the earth because the earth is much better without them. So that's why I say, like, just own it. Just own it. Don't try to explain yourself to people. You know, the next time it's like, oh, you people are taking our jobs. Like, yes, I'm taking your jobs. Thank you very much. The salary is very good. Thank you very much. You know, just like, you know, and just make fun of them. You know, it's like, and then it's like, why don't you go back to your country? It's like, yes, I go every year. Yes, to the summer vacation from the money that I got from the job that I stole from you. It's just like, you know, just play with their heads. It's like, you even pay taxes? Yes, I have paid taxes, very little. You know, because I hired a very good accountant, also an immigrant, with the money that I got from the job that I stole from you. It's just like you have to just like drill it in them. Stop trying to appease them because they will not. They will not accept you.
But that's why I loved what you did so much when I saw you perform, like, and on just that whole routine you did, and I mean, it was brilliant. My favorite kind of comedy, you know, where you're commenting on something important and making it funny. That even I was secretly, or not so secretly, pretty stressed out about everything that's happened in America, you know, since January.
Yeah, well, for me, it's comedy in itself. My personal journey of comedy in the United States was, it's the most, if you're stressed out about this, I'm stressed out about comedy. Because for me, I started stand-up comedy a little bit more over 2 years ago.
But you're so seasoned, and you're so you had a really dynamic flow and presence on stage. That's why, like, it blows my mind that you made the jump from a surgeon to having a TV show, and then I see you here, and like your stand-up, you haven't been doing stand-up that long.
No, I can't even do stand-up in Arabic. I started stand-up in English 2 years ago here.
Wow.
And it started very badly. I remember many nights that I went home crying. It's like, oh my God, I'm never gonna do this.
Where did you start? In Boston?
I started here in LA in open mics. I did open mics, and then I was doing two things. I was doing open mics, but before the open mics, I was doing university lectures. So in the lectures, I would insert a little comedy. I was like, maybe that could be a stand-up. So I would take that piece and try it for 5 minutes in an open mic. And then sometimes they will fail a lot. And then sometimes and then I started going to comedy clubs, and I was bombing so bad. And then 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, I got a residency at Joe's Pub in New York. You know, Joe's Pub was the public theater there. And they gave me 6 weeks. And every night I would go in and try my hour. And at the beginning I was going in and putting notes, and I would fail at them, and then it would get better, and then it would get better, and it would get better. Until today, every time I take the stage, even if a small comedy club or an open air parking lot like we did, I would be nervous because English is not my first language. I'm doing comedy with a language that I haven't really mastered in my brain, and yet I am better at writing and forming thoughts in English in stand-up more than Arabic now, because this is what I've been doing for 2.5 years. If you ask me now to do stand-up in Arabic, I would really struggle. In English, I know at least what bits really works and what really doesn't really work. I know what bits kill and what don't. But it's a work in progress, and it's scary because it's not really about the joke. Yeah, it is about the joke. Of course, you have to have good jokes. But it's about the flow, the cadence, the speed, the pausing, the pace, and every language have its own elements of these, you know, because when you speak Arabic, it's gonna be different than you speak English. All the pacing, the speed, the language, all of the cadence, all of that changes. So you have to rewire your brain to think in that space, and it's hard. So, and sometimes I don't, I want to do it. I want to like know exactly the same the words. I don't want to mess it up because like, you know, my enunciation has to be perfect, because if they don't hear me, they're not gonna laugh. And sometimes I have to make sure that I say it with the right kind of grammar, because the grammar, if it's bad, it's gonna spoil the joke. So I have all of these things like happening in my mind at the same time. So it's tough, but it's as scary as it is. The fact that I'm 47 now. So to learn a new skill at the end of my 40s, and to be so invested into it, I think it's a blessing. I think maybe it will protect me from getting Alzheimer. That's the goal, right?
That's great.
It was either this or crosswords.
What joke have you written that you're the most proud of?
Proud of? I don't know. I will just be proud if I got my show on Netflix. At that time, I would be so proud of it.
Yeah, what's your goal now? What kind of show are you aiming to do now?
I want to actually have my special sold.
Like an hour.
Yeah. And I think doing that will kind of open up certain things. I mean, maybe it's not the fact that I want to sell the show as much that this is a testimony that I was able to bounce back from what happened to me back home. Because there is, when everything is taken away from you and you start all over, you start to doubt yourself. Was I really talented? Was that show really good? Did I actually make that show? Or was it just like I was just lucky, you know? So you come here and you have a different chance, another chance in a different country. That's a country that's not yours, an audience that's not yours, a language that's not yours. And you try harder. And it's kind of maybe this is a way to tell myself that I still matter, that I wasn't just lucky, that that my work means something. Maybe it's in my head. Maybe I will never do the Netflix show. Maybe I will just like tour and just be happy touring, and you know, it just like landing a show on television, or landing a special on Netflix, or landing like at I don't know, a non-scripted show, whatever. Maybe these are just like milestones to tell yourself that you matter. But maybe your satisfaction will come from something else. I don't know. I'm new to this, so I don't know. Maybe my my hopes and aspirations will change as I go. Because 2.5 years ago, if you told me that I would be doing stand-up, and I would be traveling, and I would be doing like shows and weekends in improv clubs, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't actually believe you.
Well, I mean, I think what you're doing is important. I mean, my whole life, comedy's been the most important thing. And, I mean, you basically, you had a massive impact on Egypt. Your jokes are powerful. I think you're hilarious in English when I saw you. And you're playing at the Brea Improv.
The Brea Improv, 25, 26 of June. 4 shows, 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, and it's going to be the first full capacity show after the pandemic.
I'm going to come out and see it. So,
oh my God,
anybody watching,
yes.
Listening, please come out, and I'll be there.
I would love you to.
I would, because I would love to see you do an hour. When I saw you do the 20, you just. Yeah. You instantly became my favorite comedian.
You have to tell me which show you're coming, so I'm going to be extra prepared. But I tell you one thing, the whole thing about this journey for me is it's not really the big show or the stand-up comedy or whatever. I think for me it's more about the ability to reinvent yourself, because that was the hardest thing, especially when I was expelled from Egypt. You have a lot of people happy that you're gone, and they always kind of like attack. It's like, he was nothing, he was da.
Right.
In my mind, like, maybe I want to prove to them, or prove to myself, or maybe actually prove to myself. Because at the beginning there was like feelings of anger and wanting to revenge, and I will show them and whatever, and that kind of stressed me out. And then I kind of like, it leveled down, and I said, maybe I would just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of learning something new every day, of trying to unlock the secrets of this new language that I'm trying to perform with, because it's great, it's beautiful, and to have this ability to reinvent yourself again from the beginning at a much later age, I don't think a lot of people have this opportunity. No. And maybe a lot of people will even be scared to do it. And I'm still scared every single day. I go, even when I go in like a 5-minute set, I'm still scared that they're not gonna like me. And even sometimes when I go on a club and somebody wants to introduce me and he wants to say, he's the Jon Stuart of Egypt. Don't say that. They said like, this guy, his name is Bassem Youssef, he's from Egypt.
I hate when when the host gives you too big of an intro. And this next guy's a legend.
Wow, it's great. No. Just say, his name is Bassem. He just came from Egypt. Just say that. Because I need to know that if they like my material or not just like, oh, they like the history, because because at the end of the day, I don't want to live in the past. I don't want to be just the guy who did that show in Egypt. I'm very grateful for this. I'm very happy that I did that. But that was 7-8 years ago. I'm in a different stage now. I'm doing something else. So that's me.
So you said you don't ever want to go back to Egypt?
I'm happy being in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I consider Los Angeles now my home. I enjoy it. I think it's a beautiful place to live and to raise your kids, your family here. So it's a great place.
What are your favorite things about Los Angeles?
Weather.
Yeah.
Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The weather, the sun. You can't. It's just like, I think the reason why it's so damn expensive, people are paying for the weather.
Yeah.
But the weather is beautiful. I think that's the most. But also, the food is great. I'm one of those vegans. Yes.
Are you?
Yeah. I make a joke. I say I'm Arab and vegan, which makes me scary and annoying. And and it's funny when I tell people, and, people roll their eyes when they tell them you're vegan. In the Middle East, it's even worse. It's like, I'm vegan. It's like, you mean you're a virgin? No, I'm vegan. And it's like, vegan? You mean you're an atheist? No, I'm not an atheist. I just don't eat meat. Oh, Habibi, you need money. You're poor. No, I'm just different. Oh, you mean you're gay? It's just like, it's never ending. So, but here, the options of being vegan is great, and actually, I'm glad because just a few months ago, less than a year, I moved to Redondo Beach, South Bay. So I'm near the beach, near the ocean. So the weather is even getting better. And the fact that like you are in a place like Los Angeles where there's so much art and so much creativity, it always inspires you. Sometimes makes you very jealous, but inspires you.
What's the most Californian thing that you've become? What's the I started roller skating earlier this year. I'm that guy.
I want to start surfing.
Yeah.
But I'm too scared. But I'm not so scared because I did kite surfing in Egypt. I did board surfing in Egypt. But I think I want to start surfing. I want to say weed, but I don't want to be like a bad influence to young kids. So don't do drugs. And but I think vegan and driving a Prius and waking up every day trying to find something new to offend me. I guess that's it.
You're going to become like a California stoner surfer?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like, look at that wave, dude.
You've earned it.
Yes.
I think you've earned it.
I think I need to have the right shorts to complement my wonderful thighs. I need to shave them, my thighs, I guess. Don't surfers do that?
Bassem, it's a thrill to talk to you, and I really appreciate you being on my show.
Thank you so much. And I'm waiting for you next week to come to the show.
I will definitely come to the show next
week.
Yes. In closing, do you have any words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to give to the people of the earth?
Yes, advice. Never listen to our advice. Seriously, because I get that question a lot. Especially when I go lecture in a university, and you have those like young kids with their eyes always like, "What's your advice to young kids?" Like, don't listen to me. And I'm serious, because they have different circumstances, different inputs, different things than I have. Right?
Okay, well then, can you sing us a song?
I don't. I have a horrible voice. But like, since I have a little kid, Baby shark doo doo.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, my
Thank
brother.
you, Tom.
It's an honor.
Thank you. My honor, sir. Thank you.
Tom Rhodes, you're a funny man. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedian. Tom Rhodes, karate kick, baby, oh yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're a groovy dude. You go all around the world, telling jokes to all of the people. You are an international comedian. You're funny to everybody in every single country in the world. Tom Rhodes, I like you very much. I think you're talented and very wonderful. Tom Rhodes, you're the best guy in the world. I wanna be your friend. You should call me sometime. Here is my phone number, 603-644-0048. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedic sensation. Tom Rhodes, I like to listen to your podcast. Tom Rhodes, you're the best man to ever walk on the earth.